Thank you, Joe. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm an alcoholic. I have experience with these steps as they're laid out in this book with the help of a Big Book Step Study sponsor, a very patient and loving God. Meetings such as these, actively living my amends and willing to make amends if any come up, and partaking in the latter steps on a daily basis to the best of my willingness. Thank you, Joe, for asking me to speak. It's been some years since I've spoken at this meeting, and I'm very grateful to be up here because in my own thought process, I should be dead. The way I drank and the way I used drugs. So to sit up here and to be alive and to be able to share my experience, strength, and hope is a blessing, is a gift from God that I don't think is warranted. I don't believe I deserve it. I have it, and I'm grateful to have it. So my experience with alcohol and drug addiction started at a young age. I'm not going to go through it all. I just want you to know that prior to picking up a substance, my thought process was different. I didn't feel right in my own skin. I had a lot of shame growing up. I just didn't like myself. I didn't think I was good. And that's how I felt from a young age. So the thought process precipitated me into finding something outside of myself to feel good within myself. My first real addiction was stealing. I started stealing in 3rd grade. I had the MC Hammer pants. I tucked them into my socks, and I dumped candy bars down my pants. That was my first real addiction. It wasn't about the candy bars. It was about me fitting in and feeling comfortable in my own skin. And then 6th grade, my brother and his friends were drinking. I was like, I want to try this. He's older by a few years. A concoction that I found in my parents' liquor cabinet. It was multiple colors. But I drank it. And I woke up a few hours later in the back of my brother's friend's car while they were water ballooning cars. So that's kind of was my experience. But I'm going to tell you, the feeling that I got in my own skin when I took that drink, I was like, wow, I don't have to be who I actually am. I can be somebody different. I can feel comfort in my own skin. Maybe I like myself a little bit now. But what happens is it talks about in this book, in a story, what was once my best friend became my worst enemy. And that's what alcohol was and drugs were. Oh, can you not? Is this better? All right. Thank you, guys. Oh, I thought you could hear from here. Sorry. So what was once my best friend became my worst enemy. And at that point, it was already too late. I had crossed the line into alcoholism and drug addiction, and only an act of providence can now remove it from me. And it states that in here. The doctor he was humble enough to say, there's nothing I can do for you. You're doomed if you keep doing what you're doing. So, and that's pretty strong verbiage when you come in here, and I worked with a sponsor who was pretty direct with me, and he said, you're here because you're not well. So stop pretending that you are. You're here because you say you have this relationship with God, but you really don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't need Alcoholics Anonymous. You wouldn't need a substance to feel well within your own skin. So these are the things and I look back, he wasn't trying to demean me. He was just trying to tell me the truth. And, he would tell me, if you continue to do these things that you're doing, you're going to die. This isn't a joke. This is life or death for you, Brian. You're very sick, and you need a solution which is not of yourself to get well. And, so it talks about in here the different types. I wouldn't say I was normal in all respects of my life, because my thought process was different and broken to a degree, so that's why I went to a substance. My body doesn't metabolize alcohol like it does for a normal drinker. I actually learned about that. There's a scientific thing. I won't go through that because I don't recall it all. But I know when I put it in my system, I don't want to stop. And if I have to stop, I am not a good person. Don't get me started where I have to stop. That's happened. And talk about wanting to crawl out of your skin. And so, but in the most respects, I grew up in a household that taught discipline. It was dysfunctional by all means, don't get me wrong. The validation wasn't there. So I grew up in a household that was taught discipline. I had patience. I remember being a kid and I did have patience at one point. And if I was unruly, I was disciplined. So, but I still, I just didn't feel right in my own skin. And again, when I picked up that substance, it made me feel better about myself. And what I'm trying to say is that I did have a lot of things going for me, and I was an outgoing person. I still am. I can hold a job unless I'm drinking or drugging. I almost lost that back in 2016, but that's another story within itself. I just know that if I don't continue to surrender my disease to God, I don't surrender to my disease. That's what I did my whole life. I surrender my disease to God. Then I'll be okay. I do that on a daily basis. I ask for help. And then what happens is that I don't have the thought process that leads me to picking up the first drink, as it talks about in here. I have this relationship with God that's working, and He's relieving me of it. So, but I still have this mind that says, well, maybe you can handle it. I can take care of this, God. Because I'm going to tell you, just over a year ago, I drank again. I did. And you want to know what happened? I told myself it will be different. The physiology kicked in. I drank a pint of vodka, puked, and passed out. That's sociable. That was fun. Not at all. But prior to picking up that first drink over a year ago, I was completely restless, irritable, and discontent. I would be driving in my car, gripping my steering wheel. Surprised I didn't rip it out of the steering column. That's how bad I felt. And that's how much I was struggling. Wasn't going to God, wasn't coming to meetings. I told myself, and pardon my French, Brian, just don't act like an asshole and everything will be good. I don't know how to do that without God. Well, I do, but I need God. So, over a year ago, I drank, I passed out, I puked. Nothing good came from it. I woke up with that anguish, that remorse, and that day a decision that's not what got me back here. What got me back here was the anguish that I felt, that I was doing the same thing again. And I still am powerless. Because in my mind, I want to believe that I'm powerful and I can manage it, but I can't. So I got a new sponsor. We got right to work. Back in step 1. Did the reading, talked about it, went through the rest of the process again. That's what I needed to do. I needed a good house cleaning. I needed someone that knew me well enough to be like, that's a lie. Stop believing the lies in your head. And at that point, I was desperate enough to do this work again. The act of God intervened in my life and my death once again and brought me back to this work. And I've been coming back. I've been going to the Wednesday night meeting. I can't make it here on Saturdays as I went back to a former career where I have to work on Saturdays. But I just know that if I don't enlarge my spiritual condition, this physical manifestation will repeat itself. And I will drink and do drugs until I die. And the scary part about that is that's okay to me in my mind. That's very scary. Because back in 2016, when I was in the midst of a horrendous relapse, I said to myself, I'm going to die from using drugs and alcohol. That's okay. That's not okay. But God intervened, or my mom's spirit intervened and said, you need help. And I said, okay. I got treatment. So I've been in treatment a few times. I've been locked up. So what do we have left? Death. And I don't want to die today. So every day I get on my knees or I talk with God. Sometimes, one of those great is I have this relationship with God. He doesn't require me to get on my knees to talk to Him. He's like, I want you today, because the voice is pretty clear. Why don't you walk around and talk to me? Because I know you're not going to focus well if you get on your knees this morning to talk to me. But that's a wonderful thing to have. Like, I used to, like, condemn myself for this. Oh, it's not a perfect relationship. That's such crap. Like, I have this relationship with God where it can be at any point throughout the day, and it doesn't have to be so formal. And I'm just coming into that now, and I love it. So I have these conversations with God. He makes it very clear to me what my next step is to be. It's very clear. There's no other voice in my head in that moment. And, I love the fact that I have a solution today that is not my thought process. Like, I'm not stuck in it anymore. And that I don't have to be so sick physically from alcohol or drugs today. I love that. I can get up. I can go to the gym. I can go to work. I can be of service to other people. And I can not be so selfish and self-centered. But that's still a work in progress. So there's just more work to be done. And I'm diving into more work. And it's painful, but something that's well worth it, because nothing is painful as how I felt over a year ago with that mental anguish again and that physical illness. So wherever you are, I pray that you just continue to do the work through it. It's changed my life. Yes, I have relapsed, but I only tell you I've relapsed because I stopped doing the work. You don't stop doing the work and you continue to seek God, you will stay well. Doesn't make life easy, but you will stay well. That is a promise, but I'm really grateful to be here. Joe, thank you so much for asking me. It means a lot, and I'm going to pass with that. Thank you.